Well, hello everybody. Welcome to 9 Bravo Aviation's YouTube channel. I'm Anthony. A little bit about me before we get started on this video. I'm a CFI, double I can teach instrument, and multi-engine, all airplane. I'm also a first officer trainee on the E-175, and I decided to make this little YouTube channel so that we could discuss some things. Moving into airlines is wonderful and all. I get to fly planes now, but I also want to stick to the flight instructing side of things for a little while longer, so I thought I'd add some videos to this YouTube channel. The goal with the channel here is just to keep talking about that, kind of give me an opportunity to talk about some things, and test out some of my equipment, like this beautiful mic that I just got. So that's what you're listening to right now. Anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit about using flight simulators, like home flight simulators, as a supplement to flight training. So first off, yes, you should definitely do that. If you've ever heard anybody tell you that you shouldn't, that's just not the case. You should definitely get a home flight simulator for your desktop, because there are some things you can do with it, but there's a general rule that you should definitely abide by, and that is, if you do not know what you are doing, then don't do it. For example, before you go and actually touch the controls of an airplane, you go out and you try barrel rolls, or try to teach yourself how to land. You just don't have the skill set yet to do that. That being said, as you advance in your flight training, there are some things that you could probably use the flight simulator for that would help you out when it comes to saving you some money in the airplane. We'll talk about those in a minute. First, I want to talk about things that you can do before you set foot in an airplane in general, using a flight simulator. One of the things that really helped me out was a lot of flight simulators they've got built-in like learning programs, like a flight school. I did Flight Simulator X, and that really helped me before I did all my stuff, because taught you basic fundamental maneuvers like turns, climbs, descents, straight and level flight, albeit there's no motion involved, which is kind of a downside, but that certainly does help. There is an advantage to doing that before you step into a real airplane. Once you actually do get into the actual airplanes though, follow along with your flight school's syllabus. Try not to work too far ahead of that. Talk to your flight instructor to see what you guys are going to be working on the next time. It should be part of the debriefing after your previous lesson, so you know what you should be practicing. So as long as you're working with your flight instructor, you're not working outside the syllabus, that should be good. Just don't go trying to, practice steep turns and stalls when you are, on flight 2. Because you're probably still mastering basic aircraft controls at that point. So it's very, very useful for that. Some of the things that I've found, you can hear the C-17 probably just buzzing over my house. There's an Air Force base just down the way. You'll probably also notice that it's snowing a lot. It's Snowmageddon over here in Seattle, so here we are. Anyway, things that you can do with Flight Simulator that really, really, really help out a lot. If you're an instrument student, instrument approaches, procedures. A lot of flight simulators have a really good instrument database. X-Plane has a really good instrument database if you have 10 or newer. Flight Sim X, not so much. You can find that in a lot of professional built simulators as well. The Microsoft Flight Simulator version of that, like for Redbirds, a lot of times the nav database is out of date. So if you are going to do instrument approaches, double check that nav database, because it's probably going to give you a little bit of a hiccup there. But you should be able to do VOR and ILS approaches, and if you're bold, NDB approaches as well. That shouldn't be any problem. On top of that, radio work. A lot of flight simulators have built-in air traffic control systems that you can mess around with. Really helped me learning about how to, make traffic announcements and stuff like that during flights. Just play around with that a little bit. You'll get kind of the gist of it, and then you can go through your ground school, and your ground school should teach you a little bit about that also. Both X-Plane and Flight Simulator X have that. Just got to learn how to access it. It's a little bit different in each program. Let's see, what else is good out there? When you get to takeoffs and landings, maybe performance takeoffs and landings, mainly because you can practice putting the airplane into configuration and then after takeoff getting it back out of configuration, same on landing. Not really good for practicing technique though. There's no motion, of course. You're not going to get the sensation of getting thrown back in your seat when you're doing a short field takeoff. Or the maximum braking is just all one level of braking pretty much in Flight Simulator, so more just practice configurations and stuff like that. So the radio work and the instrument stuff, that's probably the best. And you know, practicing basic climbs and descents, all the basic controls are there, so feel free to mess with those. I might have already mentioned some of the drawbacks to Flight Simulator. That is that there's no motion involved at all. Sometimes also the airplanes can be a little bit boring. When I say boring, I mean that you can't click on everything, which is a downside. You can kind of see it maybe. Nope, it's gone. Anyways, let's get that back to normal. So, anyway, when you're going through your with your flight simulator, some of the airplanes don't have fully functional cockpits, which can be kind of a downside. A lot of GA planes, like say you're practicing emergency procedures or something, and the checklist calls for you to turn off the fuel selector. Well, I guarantee you that on most of the default models of flight simulator stuff, you're not going to find that. It's not going to be clickable. It's just going to be like a little image on the very bottom. It might not even be there actually. So that's one thing. And I guess if I didn't mention it, you can also practice checklists in your home sim. I do that all the time when I'm doing my training for the 175. And I'm not on base doing training. I've got a little E175 on Flight Simulator I downloaded, and I just practice everything through that. So, yeah. So if you're going to practice like checklists and stuff like that, it's best to make sure that you have an airplane that's fully functional. Look at reviews, please. Most simulators come with like a Cessna 172. If you're training in something like a 152 or 162 or a Piper, you're probably going to have to go out and find one of those. You can get them for like 20 to 30 bucks or something like that. It's not too bad. But those are my big thoughts on using flight simulators. Totally recommend it. I would send people home after lessons and tell them this is what I want you to work on, because I know they'd have flight simulators at home. I had one particular student that used it a lot, and it really helped him kind of sort through things on his own as far as practicing like instrument approaches went and stuff like that. So anyway, I look forward to hearing all about your opinions on whether you should use a flight simulator at home to supplement your flight training or not. So let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video. See ya.